Hi, everybody. Welcome to Meet the Mailers. I'm Paul Bobnak for Who's Mailing What, and today I'm speaking with Jen DeBuhr. She is Business Development Manager for LeadingResponse. Before we get started, keep in mind that you can join our conversation by commenting in the box below. Show your support by tapping the like button, and to get notified of when we add new videos to the channel, click on subscribe. Now let's meet today's guest. Welcome, Jen. Good to see you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being here.
You're welcome. Well, let's get started by talking about your background, specifically with direct mail, anything else you want to wrap into that, and then what your role involves at LeadingResponse.
All right. I'm Jen DeBuhr. I am a business development manager here at LeadingResponse. I've been here for 19 years. I celebrated my 19th anniversary last month, actually.
Wow.
So. Thank you. It's a really long time in today's day and age to be with any single company, right?
It is, yeah.
When I started with the company, we were called Response Mail Express. We've been through a few name changes, and we've grown, and we've changed a lot as a company since then. Back at that time, Response Mail Express, we're generally credited as the people who created the dinner seminar.
Mm-hmm.
That idea was really born with us and with our company founder named George and some financial advisors close to 30 years ago. And so when I started working here, that was all we did. Mail was part of the name, right? We specifically did mail, and we did mail for seminars with financial advisors. And what we found is that this method really worked well, not just for financial advisors, but for estate planning attorneys and for physicians and for dentists and for pre-need planning and for senior living. And we found that this idea and this concept really worked well in a lot of different industries, and that we could apply it a lot of different ways. And then over the years, our offerings have just grown and expanded in more ways than you can count.
Right.
And now I work in multiple divisions. I lead the charge. I still work a lot in our financial space, and I also work in Medicare and in senior living and in reverse mortgage and others.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I was taking a look at the website, and I see, the company has a huge amount of involvement in, a couple key areas like financial advisories and healthcare and medical and legal practices. Can you talk, about the type of services that the company offers?
Yeah, so we have several different verticals that we work in. We work with various different types of attorneys. There's one half of our business that is really specific to the legal space. And then we also work with estate planning attorneys and financial advisors, pre-need companies. Medicare is huge for us, senior living. Think of place of most of our verticals would be like people who are older than 55, services and experts that they would need.
Okay.
And so my job, I'm hired by my client who wants to grow their business and grow their practice. And they come to me and they say, this is what my ideal client looks like. Can you help find me this person? And for everybody, that's different, right? So for someone doing alternative investments, it's very, very different than maybe a physician. Right? Completely different people that they're looking for.
Right.
But they're going to come to me and they're going to say, I'm looking to grow my business and I need to get in front of these people. Can you help me? So that's step one. That's kind of that's what I get paid to do.
Okay. Right.
But the bigger part of what we do that I'm known for just having a ton of empathy and I'm really heart driven. And so the bigger part of our job is connecting consumers to experts at their time of need, right? So I'm hired by the experts to help them find the consumers. But what drives me is knowing that I have in my career, I have facilitated at least 40,000 seminar events, probably more. And in that time, I don't know how many people I have helped find their expert, whether it was their financial advisor or their attorney or whatever it is that they really needed. But that's what we do as a company is we help consumers find the people that they need.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, thinking about, the long experience in using direct mail, what are some best ways to use direct mail to drive and to generate leads?
Okay. So let me say right now that my answer to this is so completely biased.
Perfectly.
100% biased.
Yeah, no worries.
I am a big believer in live events.
Mm-hmm.
I've been raised up on them, right? I've been doing live events for 20 years.
Sure.
And we do so much more now. So we also help our clients fill webinars, and we help our clients do just leads and, kind of call leads or mail leads, or we'll help them fill different types of, maybe direct appointments.
Mm-hmm.
But over and over and over again, I come back to live events. Some things are classic, and they're classic for a reason. There is a reason that dinner seminars specifically have been working successfully for close to 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think what's happened, particularly true in COVID times, right? Like in 2020, we all go online. There were no events, right?
Yeah.
So everything shuts down. The restaurants shut down. All in-person shuts down. And we all all of us as marketers go into all these online fields and filling webinars and online things. And we learned a lot from that. And as we've been spending the last, I would say particularly since February of this year, coming out of that, what there is this greater appreciation than ever before of being in person. Mm-hmm. Like every time I work remote now, right? A lot of us work remote now.
Yeah.
And every time I go into an office, I go into the office and I see my colleagues, like I'm thrilled to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I take my team out to lunch, I'm thrilled to see them. So what has happened now that we couldn't have imagined like 2+ years ago is that people come into events with this great appreciation for just being there and being in a room and breaking bread with someone over dinner. And they'll come in and they'll tell my client who's hosting the event, "Thank you so much, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, for inviting me here. I'm so happy to be here and to learn from you today." And so I've noticed this really across all industries universally, this mindset shift about dinner seminars and about live in-person events, and this greater appreciation for them than we ever could have imagined. Mm-hmm. So in virtually every conversation that I have now, I talk to my clients and I'm like, we can talk about direct appointments, and we can talk about webinars, and we can talk about, all these different methods of getting you in front of somebody. But let's talk live events. And I just can't help but going there because of the appreciation that we've seen recently.
Mm-hmm. And that's basically just mostly driven by direct mail?
We'll use both. We'll use direct mail and we'll use Facebook advertising. We believe in an omni-channel approach, but, again, in the same sort of way, like there's this appreciation of classic, right, and a bit of like what is old is new again, right? Mm-hmm. And so I tell people a lot that, when's the last time you got a thank you card from somebody?
Right.
Or, you get a card in the mail and it feels lovely. Like it's just so rare that we get something in the mail that's like special and unique to us. So we like to use direct mail as our primary vehicle for driving people to events, because that's going to get us in every way a higher quality responder. It's a cleaner list. The data is better. It's a higher quality intent. But we'll use Facebook as well. I mean, it certainly has its use. We also do some page search in some other industries. I think like when it comes, here's what I explain to people about the difference between direct mail and Facebook when it comes to events specifically. If I'm on Facebook and I click that I'm attending about something, kind of means I might want to go. Will you remind me again? Right. But if I receive in the mail a direct mail invitation and it's to someone's birthday party or their wedding or their dinner party or whatever, and I RSVP yes to that, it's going on my calendar.
Yeah.
So there's a completely different level of intent.
Right.
That happens. So we believe in using both. They have their pros and cons. But again, I know that I'm very biased in my love of direct mail and that old school touch and feel of it, and my love of in-person events.
Right. Yeah, I completely understand. I think it's that personal touch
Yeah.
that provides. It's tactile, and like you said, it goes on your calendar. For me, I also put it on my fridge. It's convenient. It's something you look at, and as you get closer, you're reminded of it a lot.
For us, we're big believers in personalization too. So, on the piece that we send out, it'll have the person's name. Yours would say Paul, probably 3 or 4 different times on it to make sure that that we're speaking to you, and that it's personalized for you.
Right. Well, let's talk about targeting. How can marketers find and develop customers by targeting specific audiences using mail?
So I think everyone is looking at the first question is, what is that ideal consumer for you? What is that consumer persona that you're looking for, right? And for everybody, that's going to be a little bit different. I have some clients who specialize in marketing to women specifically, and so that's a different persona than other clients who maybe in the financial space will be doing alternative investments, and they need people who have $1 million or plus net worth. And so with each client, there's a conversation that I have about, what does that perfect customer look like for you?
Right.
And then I'm going to discourage them from overqualifying it. So I think we sometimes have this tendency, a lot of my clients will have this tendency to try and get just this exact one, right?
Yeah.
And I know you'll have it, I'm sure you've come across this too, and I come across it too. There's a lot now that we can do in direct mail with different niches. There's all these selects that you can find of people who like to shop, or people who have multiple kids, or, people who like cruises and whatever, and I will stay away from a lot of those niches.
Okay.
Because I don't want to go, first of all, I want any data that we get to be verifiable.
Mm-hmm.
So the data that we should be looking at is age, income, assets, which is a really solid algorithm we've been using for 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
Homeowners, value of home, whether or not someone's married, these things that are verifiable data.
Right.
And the other data, I would encourage someone to not look so much at that, because we don't know the quality of it. We don't know how much of it is going to be real. And what we don't want to do is rule out very viable prospects and potential customers for you just because you thought you wanted this one specific audience, right? So sometimes they'll ask me for a very, very specific audience, and I'll be like, was that it? Is that the only person that you'll work with? Because if so, we can do that.
Right.
But if we can go with a broader audience, it's going to serve us better.
Right. Yeah, I can understand that. You may be too exclusionary of specific niche audiences if you're getting too narrow.
I think it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they just keep tightening it and tightening it and tightening it. And then we don't even have enough people to market to.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't even know how good that data is, right? Mm-hmm. So I always recommend that we stick with the things that we can verify and that we can trust. Right.
So we talked a little bit about data so far. Can you talk a little bit more about how it's used from your viewpoint in acquisition, and if you do anything in retention marketing as well?
So we are huge believers in using data and using data well, and we really view ourselves more as a data company. I would say we definitely view ourselves more as a data company than a direct mail company, for sure. And we probably view ourselves more as a data company than a marketing agency even.
Yeah.
We are using data to make our marketing decisions every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the big benefits of, a company like ours, that is, as a company, we've done over 1.5 million events at this point in time, plus all other sorts of marketing campaigns, is that, for close to 30 years, we've compiled the data. Yeah. We've been grabbing it and learning from it. And so we are always with each other, sharing our best practices and looking at the data. And now we've invested a ton of manpower and, quite frankly, a ton of money
Mm-hmm.
in feeding back data to our customers in our event management platform.
Okay.
We currently call it Prospect Connect. It's soon to be the hub. And in the hub, our clients can learn about when someone responds, whether it's a lead or a event responder or whatever, what the age of that person is, what their asset class is, whether or not they're married, where they came from, how far away they are from the center of the list that we mailed, what date they responded to. Is there a particular date or place or venue that is responding better than others? So we've been compiling the data forever, and now we are investing and feeding as much of that data back to our customer base as we can,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can really make informed marketing decisions for themselves. Now, an interesting side story. So I, for the longest time, people would ask us about dinner seminars and what are the best days to hold dinner seminars. And we would tell them Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay.
15 years, I told them Tuesdays and Thursdays, right?
Right.
So I have a client, and we have some other clients who had been doing Mondays. And we look at the data, and the Mondays and the Wednesdays pull just as well as the Tuesdays and the Thursdays.
Okay.
So we had this story that we had been telling, but when we really look at the data, any of those weekdays are the same. So we had a conversation amongst the sales leaders at our organization just last week, and we're like, well, let's look at this. Like, why are we recommending that people not do Mondays when really Mondays are fun,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have to change be willing to change and be willing to grow and have a growth mindset based on the data that we're presented.
Right. I mean, that brings up a point, about how you constantly have to look at your data, because there can be things that trend in the data. And if you don't do it often enough, your assumptions may be really off. And
I think we all have to be willing to learn, right? Like, regardless of how long you've been doing this, or if I've been doing it for 20 years or not, I have to be willing to accept that maybe I don't know everything, and maybe Mondays are just as good as Tuesdays, and the data clearly shows that that could be the case. So
just out of curiosity, is there like a marked difference based on the type of invitation that you're sending, if it's for financial advisory versus something for senior living?
As far as the day of week specifically?
Right.
No, but there is a marked difference in time of day, interestingly enough. So one of the things that people like to do is, and I will say this is a universal rule, mm-hmm. across the board, all industries, is that people will host events in the middle of the day, lunchtime or 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. or whatever the case may be. The reason they're doing that is because that's what's more convenient for them, right? All of us want to work days. We don't want to work nights. I've got a 6-year-old. I get it. Universally, our data will show us time and time again across industries that evenings are going to be better. Evenings are going to be better because they're more accessible to the consumer.
Right.
People are working later and later in life. And so if one person in that couple is still working, they can't make your daytime event. So I think one lesson that people could learn if they're doing event planning, whether they're promoting that via direct mail or they're promoting that via Facebook ads or their client events or whatever industry they're in, do one of the events in the evening. Mm-hmm. Don't do just daytime events, because if you just do daytime, you lost half your audience from the very beginning.
Right. And people are also working a lot more now with flex time and work from home and juggling a lot of different things at the same time.
I joke with people all the time. I'm like, I work from home, so you think that means that I have more flexibility, and I guess that I do.
Right.
But I still can't get to something before 6.
Right.
No matter how hard I try.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you brought up before talking about other channels. Facebook is obviously pretty big. What are some keys to doing effective multi-channel marketing?
I think the key to it is really being open to the word that you just used, which is multi-channel. Okay. And realizing that everything has got its pros and cons. Everything has got its pros and cons, right? So I'm a big believer in direct mail. I love direct mail. I use it. I encourage my clients to use it as much as possible. But I also am fully understanding that direct mail is a larger investment than, say, a Facebook ad, right? And it's also less flexible, right? Once I send something to print, I printed it, it's out.
Right, gone.
Right? Gone, right? So you spent this amount of money, you printed it, gone, you can't change it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Facebook advertising, on the other hand, it's not as it won't be as quality a responder for you. They won't have the same level of intent.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as likely to be the exact client that you want them to be, but it's a lot less expensive. You could do Facebook ads in relatively small amounts. You're talking about spending hundreds instead of thousands, right?
Yeah.
And you can change them on the fly, right? So my husband is an individual real estate agent. He uses Facebook ads quite a bit because for him, you know, that makes a lot of sense,
Sure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
For my clients promoting events where it really, really matters to us that we get in front of the right person and that we want those people to show up. And with direct mail, we'll have 85, 90% of them actually show up at the door and then be the right people that we want, then that's going to be the better approach.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say in most of my campaigns these days, I do a mix. I'll spend most of my investment in direct mail and a little bit in social media because I want to make sure that we have that high quality that we can bank on, that we can count on.
Mm-hmm.
And then in social media, I can be more flexible. And then the bonus of social media is that every once in a while it goes viral, right? So sometimes you spend a tiny bit of money and you just get a huge response. So, and you never know when that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'd be open to using various channels, you know, as needed and based on what the client's goals are.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Well, you know, we know that postage and paper costs have put a lot of pressure on marketers to save money on mail, right? So what are some good ways for marketers, your clients, whether they're law firms or doctors' practices, to keep their acquisition costs under control?
Inflation has hit us in the direct mail business so hard, right? Like, I mean, we have had our cost of goods just absolutely skyrocket. And not just skyrocketing cost of goods. I mean, postage went up this year 4 cents. You know, that's a lot, right? And then, you know, paper costs have gone up. But then there's the shortages. So we had a client recently who wanted to do a very, very significant size order that was a new client to us, very, very significant size order of using number 10 envelopes. And for anyone who doesn't know, a number 10 envelope is just your standard white business envelope, right? Never in a million years would we expect a shortage of number 10 envelopes. I will tell you right now, number 10 envelopes are like the Hope Diamond. Like you can't get them unless, you know, people have put limits on how many that you can buy. They're extremely hard to get. You know, we went to one of our vendors and they laughed at us and they said, yeah, well, you know, maybe in April.
Right, wait a few months,
Eventually, you know, we were able to source them, but you know, some of these shortages, these supply chain things that have happened is just really comes as a surprise. Like you just never in a million years would have expected that your average white business envelope would be such a high value item, you know?
Right.
So we have to get creative. And that means we look more at packages that we know that we can produce, where we know there aren't shortages. We have a lot more clients these days doing self-mailers than ever before, not using envelopes at all, just to help keep costs down and to, more importantly, you know, not have it where you can't get the product that you want. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's something everybody's facing, even though there's been, you know, some easing on some of these as more production has been ramped back up. There's still like a lag in a lot of things.
There will be until next year, you know, especially in certain products, because right now we're going into Medicare AEP. So there's a ton of mail that's happening with Medicare AEP. and we're looking at political season.
Right.
So there's a ton of mail happening for political mailings.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is after, say, December of this year, you're going to see a lot of easing in some of that supply chain, hopefully, fingers crossed on that.
Right.
But right now, you still have these two big waves coming up that are going to be affecting the demand.
Right. Well, we'll get to that continuation of that point in a moment or two. But basically, what would you say is the best value proposition for direct mail? Why does it still work for your audiences and your clients?
I think it's what we touched on earlier, that it's something that you can touch and feel, and that matters. You know, a colleague and I were talking yesterday about ad blindness, you know, that we are just so flooded all the time. Every time that I go into my email inbox, I spend what feels like half my day getting rid of emails. Yeah. And then sometimes I go through mad like unsubscribes. Yeah. And I still end up like filtering through emails after emails, right? So we just do our best to get rid of that. I think for most of us, unless it's an email that's really welcome from someone that we work with currently, like we're doing our best to just move those out. Yeah. Right. And then we go onto Facebook or, you know, whatever, Instagram, whatever our social media preference is. Mm-hmm. And we're scrolling and we're trying to like get past the ads. Can we just get past the ads so that we can see what it is that we want, right? And then if we're looking online at something, I can't even tell you, I've been online on several websites today and I cannot recall a single banner ad or ad that I saw on a news website or anything. I don't know if you can.
No, I can't.
No. I can't recall of one, right? So we go blind to those things. But when something is in our mailbox, we have no choice but to at least look at it and decipher whether or not this is something that we want to keep or toss. And that ability to be able to touch it mm-hmm. makes a world of difference, right? And that ability to be able to hang it on your fridge, like you said.
Yeah. Well, it's like that's what you know, there have been so many neuroscience studies that talk about that, about the ability of printed matter, whether it's a printed ad, a book, and certainly direct mail. The ability to recall is so much higher with print compared to something that's digital.
I am personally making it a point in my life, and have been for a couple of years, to really send more personal direct mail. Mm-hmm. So to my clients, to send direct mail thank you cards. Oh, my best friend, she sends cards for everything, right? And I'm like, I just want to be more like you. You know, I had a loss in my family recently and I got several sympathy cards. Mm-hmm. And when we get these cards in the mail, they're very valuable to us. Yeah. You know, they're much more valuable than someone's email message could ever be.
Yeah, because it's just sort of like sits out there, and even if you save it, something that's personal like that, it just sits there and eventually you just kind of forget about it. But something that's a card, a thank you card from your real estate agent, it means something.
It means something. And I joke with people all the time. I'm like, you know, our grandmothers taught us well. We really need to listen to them and send more thank you cards.
Yeah, exactly. So you touched on this before. What sort of trends do you see unfolding in direct mail going into 2023 and even beyond that?
I really like this question.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I think that when there's this misconception in the industry that when people are thinking about direct mail, they think of it as old school. Yeah. They think of direct mail as low tech. Right. They think of, if someone's thinking of direct mail, they're thinking about printing, and maybe someone's got a 40-year-old printer in their garage sending out letters, and I'm sure I know that still exists. But the trend that's happening in direct mail is very high tech. Yeah. You know, we have a couple of printers at one of our facilities that are worth over $1 million a piece. Mm-hmm. You know, we have spent, again, big numbers in our platform, the Hub, in a data management platform for our clients that as high tech as it gets. We have a lot of people on our tech staff. We do a lot of variable printing, so I think, when people think of print, they think low tech, and the reality is that is just not the case at all. It's actually a very high tech business, and that's just going to continue.
Right. Yeah, completely agree. That's why I point out to people too, is that like so many things, everything is digital today. Digital printing, digital marketing, direct mail is a type of digital marketing.
That's right. Yeah. And people just don't get it and don't see it, don't know like what we're capable of in direct mail and in variable print these days.
Yeah, cool.
And in data management these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's all digital. It's all completely digital. Well, thank you again for being here today. I really appreciate you being here. And
thank you.
How can people find out about LeadingResponse for consultation or for a possible partnership?
Well, you can learn a lot about us at our website, which is just LeadingResponse.com. Anyone would be welcome to reach out to me. My email is Jennifer D. D as in David, Jennifer D at LeadingResponse.com. I may not be the subject matter expert in all fields, but I'm happy to get someone to the subject matter expert in their field if they were to reach out to me and have an interest. More than happy to help. Awesome.
That's so great. Well, thank you very much again for being with us, Jennifer. And thank you all for joining us today. And remember that you can comment in the box below, show your support by tapping the like button, and click on subscribe to be notified of new videos when they're added to the channel. And if you are interested in being featured in a future episode of Meet the Mailers, I want to hear from you. So my contact info can be found in the paragraph below by tapping Show More. Thanks again for watching Meet the Mailers, and see you next time.